Howdy, howdy, howdy. Welcome to one and all, the last day of May of 2021. A happy, a solemn Memorial Day to all of y'all. Hope everyone is doing fantastic. Let me do something. I'm going to try to turn down on my notes. It's a little bright, so I'm going to turn it down so y'all see more than just a glare off of my glasses. Let's see if I can do this. Multitask. There we go. Much better. All right, now y'all can see my blue eyes and my smiles and everything else. Now, I hope everyone is doing fantastic. Let me start off with a big old great SKD 143. I love my wife, love my kids, love all the reality fans around the world, all of y'all out here. Again, I hope y'all are doing well. I hope you've had a good weekend, enjoying it for those of you here in the U.S. And I know Canada, Angie, I see you out there, and maybe a few others. I know you all celebrate Memorial Day, a little different time and all, but here in the United States, Memorial Day officially today, made for a long weekend such. And we're going to tell, so I've got a few stories I'm going to tell about that here in a little bit in honor of Memorial Day, along with everything else that we've got called out as well. Yeah. Better? Yeah, I got to tell you, I almost didn't make it out here. In fact, I got to wet my whistle a little bit. I almost didn't make it out here because I got busy binging a TV show that I'm really excited to talk about. But anyway, I'm here. I made it because I wasn't going to miss out at all. First of all, Ma, Andy, Jake, Meg, all my friends, buddies, Angie, Johnny, animator. Hey, Johnny. Anthony as well. Lauren, Turtle Lover. Welcome, Turtle Lover. I never see you. David Buchanan. Welcome to all of y'all. Hope y'all are doing fantastic. All right, let's get into it. Let's talk about a few things. Now, first of all, obviously, y'all know me. I always do National Whatever Day and all that. And I've got that today. Today, Monday's easy, right? It's Memorial Day. And like I said, we owe these soldiers who've given so much, the sacrifices they've made, not just the soldiers, but the families of the soldiers that have sacrificed so much to defend our freedoms here in the U.S. and elsewhere, other countries. Same kind of situation. I gotta say, when I really get in the mood to get very solemn and such, or sometimes very happy, one of the things that gets me more than anything else is watching these videos on YouTube and elsewhere of the soldiers that are coming back home and surprising their kids, their wives, their moms. I can't watch many of those without getting a whole lot of tears into my eyes, just because you see just the pure joy and happiness. And I watch those things whenever I need to, just to remind me that there's a lot of people that we should all be so grateful for what we have. And you just see the pure pleasure of these people when they get a loved one back. So that's one of my weak spots is watching those videos. I can't watch a lot of them because it just, how it gets me very, very emotional when I watch those things. But yeah, I thought about that as I was thinking Memorial Day, is those families who've suffered and given up so much as well. Now, I've been all over the world, and I've got to say, of all the places I've been, one of the places that was one of the most amazing was in Washington, D.C. I've been to the Tomb of the Unknown Soldier there at Arlington National Cemetery. I have watched the changing of the guard, and it's easy for us. The people watching that, we're standing all around. It's typically in the middle of the afternoon. It's nice, pleasant weather, and it's interesting watching the precision and how seriously these soldiers take the entire process of changing out guards, because the Tomb of the Unknown Soldier, they guard it 24 hours a day. There is always someone out there guarding it. And it's a big process. It's a big ceremony when they switch out one guard to the other. But again, when we see it, it's nice, regular weather, and we watch for 30 minutes, and then we move on. The people who actually do the guarding, it doesn't matter if it's a nice sunny day. It can be 20 degrees and snowing and sleeting and icing, and those soldiers are still out there doing the exact same thing. So and my understanding is it's a huge honor to be one of the ceremonial guards guarding the tomb, guarding their compatriots who gave their lives in defense of the country. It's a big honor for those guys to do it. So mad respect to them for the passion with which they do a job. Now, it's interesting. I've also been to the Tomb of the Unknown Soldier in Russia, in Moscow. which was kind of interesting. They've got it over on the side of the Kremlin. I mean, like really right upside the red brick wall, if I recall. And I think there's an eternal flame burning, and they've got guards standing guard on either side and everything. And so, yeah, it's not just United States that honors their soldiers. I think a lot of countries recognize that the only way you defend your freedoms, whatever you define those freedoms, different countries do it different ways. But the soldiers are the one, that final line of defense and protection and such. So I don't want to go on and on with it, but just thinking about Memorial Day a little bit as we get into it. So again, a solemn Memorial Day to all of y'all. Who's saying Ma's dad's birthday? Oh, congratulations, Ma's dad, when that comes up, July 7th. All right. So today's Memorial Day. Now I've got another one for y'all as well. Did y'all know today's Memorial Day? Tomorrow, though. Tomorrow we got a few celebrations. One is National Pen Pal Day. I don't know, is that even a deal anymore? Now that you can talk to anyone around the world just by turning on their computer. It used to not be like that. Yeah, you used to actually have to write letters and send it by airmail. No more. So for those of you who have pen pals, happy National Pen Pal Day. Tomorrow is also another one that I thought a lot about. Tomorrow is National Go Barefoot Day. Okay, barefoot is cool when the temperature's right. I got to say, when I was in that Big Brother house, we couldn't go barefoot in the backyard in the summertime. We had that artificial turf back there. It looks like grass, but it wasn't. It was turf, and I guess, I don't know what was underneath it because we never saw underneath. I think it was just concrete or something. And that old California sun would shine on that turf, and it was the hottest. It's like walking on the surface of the sun sometimes when we'd go outside to get out by the pool. So we all had our sandals, and a few people would make a mad dash back and forth. Not me so much. It was pretty miserable. But in the right situations, have fun going barefoot. One of the reality shows I always watch is Naked and Afraid. And I got to say, being naked, whatever. With a camera on you, maybe that's a little bit, that's elevating the stress a little bit more with that. But I don't think that would bother me as much. The two things that probably would bother me, well, three things that would bother me more than anything else on that show: the cold, because I don't like cold. I've told y'all that before. The insect bites everywhere, which will kind of segue in another little story I got here in a second. But these guys having to walk barefoot everywhere. If they gave me a loincloth and I was on that show, forget about wrapping around the private areas and all that. I'd just be wrapping around my feet so I could walk around. So maybe I'm not the best advocate of Go Barefoot Day because I don't know. It seems pretty miserable to me at times. But the worst possible place not to go barefoot is when you're walking around an area that has a whole bunch of fire ants, as I discovered this weekend. And that's going to lead to a story of its own. Well, I guess we could talk about it just right here and now before we even go any further more. Let's see, Moss saying I can't be barefoot. Yeah, in the right places, right? It's fun to be barefoot out when you're in the nice green grass. Not so much when you're in the bathroom at McDonald's, right? I mean, or in the bathroom of an airplane, places like that. Not so much when you got fire ants. Not so much when you're walking up the side of a volcano to explore the what's inside the crater. Hopefully you don't go too far when you're doing that. They got craters, they've got volcanoes in Hawaii that you can explore. It would be kind of cool, I guess. I'd take some marshmallows and a really, really long stick, I think. But yeah, so barefoot in moderation. But so getting back to the fire ant story. A longer weekend, we ended up going to the lake for the weekend, which is fun. Hence, some of y'all saw my little profile pic of me fishing. And that wasn't actually from this past weekend, but I did a little fishing. I didn't catch anything huge, a few smaller fish, but love to just go by the lake, sit around, enjoy the fireflies and the crickets at night, and do a little fishing and just enjoy the outdoors, which we did a lot of. But while I was up there, I also had to do a little maintenance, a little mowing, things like that. And I got to say, stepping into a fire ant mound, and Angie, you can confirm, I don't think up in Canada that y'all necessarily have fire ants yet. In fact, some of y'all who are up in the Northeast and elsewhere, I'm not sure all of the United States has fire ants yet. But here in Texas, we got them. And when you step into fire ants, you know it real quick because those things start biting and they just keep on biting. Talk about running pretty fast and doing a whole lot of swapping back and forth trying to get those things off of you. But I stepped in a couple of fire ant mounds. And so I've got it burns. They're called fire ants because when they bite you, it just feels, it's not like a regular ant. This thing just This feels like someone just took a match and they stuck it up against your skin, and they crawl everywhere on you. So I stepped in a few fire ants. That was not a lot of fun. I also managed to, somewhere along the way, walk through a little bit of poison ivy, apparently, because now I got a little scratching going on my legs because of that as well. Also had a whole lot of mosquitoes, so I've got a few mosquito bites. So, I'm a little itchy from my knees on down walking through some of this stuff. So I'm paying the price, but it was so nice to be outdoors anyway. It's just price you pay when you haven't been outside for a while and everything. So there you go. So that's my story of the weekend. I had a blast being outdoors, but a few little critters bothering me as well. Ma saying I've never been fishing. Well, Ma, we need to change that someday. Fishing, I gotta say, you got to be really patient to go fishing. And I'm not. You see these guys on TV shows. Well, some of y'all may have seen them. They go out, they catch these gigantic bass and everything. I never catch the big ones. I'm happy to go out there and just catch anything. I can catch a little catfish this big, a little perch here and there. It's all about just finding something that suddenly pulls on that hook and engages, and you get to reel it in. And very rarely do I keep the fish and cook them. Almost every time I just unhook them, I throw them right back in. It's just a matter of keeping track, and it's a contest just to see what you can catch. So, Ma, if you've never been fishing, I strongly suggest that you ought to try it. And Brian said, not your month with dealing with insects. I know it. It's like the insect kingdom's got something against Boss Hog. Between the bees, I wanted to save the bees. They ought to be passing the word to everyone else saying, hey, this guy's a friend of insects. Leave him alone. But no, I'm the bees, and now now the mosquitoes, the fire ants. Apparently the plant kingdom doesn't like me that much either. So I don't know. Maybe I just need to stay indoors a little bit longer. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to enjoy every bit of it. But yeah, they got it out for me, right? I was minding my own business. I don't know. Look at it from the fire ants position. They're sitting there just minding their own business with their gigantic mound, and here comes some Bigfoot stepping into it. I probably would bite too, but doesn't mean I'm forgiving them. And the beekeepers, I wanted them to try to save the bees. Fire ants, nah, kill every single one of them, and I'm going to do a dance as I watch them all go away, because there's nothing fun about fire ants whatsoever. All right, let's see. What else? Fishing might not be my thing. You'll never know till you try it, Ma. Again, it's a solitary deal. Fishing's almost an excuse. That's the way I treat it. Fishing is just an excuse to sit out on the edge of the water and watch a little water. Just enjoy the breeze and the noise and everything else. If you catch something great. So anyway, all right, there you go. I don't want to go on and on talk fishing all night long. We'll save that for some other episode. But anyway, what else is going on? I was going to tell y'all. I got a binge story that I'm going to save a little bit longer into the thing. I wanted to start off just because it is Memorial Day, and we are honoring those who've served, those who've paid the price. So I was going to tell a couple of real quick stories about my granddads, who both served in World War II and before and after to some degree as well. Some of their stories from World War II, and I may have told one or two of these a while back, but I'm going to tell a few new ones as best I can as I'm thinking about it. First of all, let's start with Granddaddy Hogg, my dad's dad, who William Clifford Hogg Sr. I'm the third, who I'm named after. Funny how that works, but he actually served in the military before World War II even started, and during World War II, he was a lieutenant colonel, I think, and he actually was serving here in Texas. At one of the Army bases. Back then, they didn't have an Air Force. Eventually, he went Air Force, but at the time, it was just an Army base. And he was pretty high ranking in this base. And this is one of the bases, Camp Maxey Spear, for those of you who are interested, up North Texas. But this camp was taking all the civilians who were signing up to go fight overseas. This was one of the basic training camps where they would take all these soldiers and give them a very accelerated basic training course before sending them overseas to fight in the war. And so my granddad did that. This was also a prisoner of war camp, which I always thought was interesting. I say that it may have been a different camp he's at that's prisoner of war, but they had a whole bunch of Germans that were working in his prisoner of war camp as well. And they would maintain the lawns and serve meals and things like that. And my dad at the time was just a toddler, and these soldiers loved hanging out and watching my dad and everything else because it made them think of home and their families back home. And they would make my dad all kinds of little art projects. They'd take military helmets and they would paint them all up with pictures of Germany and flags and everything else, and they'd give them to my father. And so it was really interesting that even though the Germans were our enemy at the time, at the same time, once they got over here at the camp and they were being treated well and everything, and it was different at the time. There was respect given for them, and so everyone got along very well. My granddad said they were always amazed because they had been told by Adolf Hitler and their higher ranking people that New York City had been bombed into just oblivion. There was nothing left of the city. And so all the prisoner of war from Germany and Europe, they would put them on ships and make sure that they entered the United States through New York City so they could see the city and know that they'd been lied to by the higher ups, the high command and everything. And so these soldiers already saw that there was a lot going on they weren't aware of. At that point, I guess they were put on trains, and Texas had a whole lot of POW camps down here. And so anyway, so that was kind of interesting from that standpoint. But my granddad training all of these soldiers and then seeing them go off to battle while he stayed at home all the time really started getting to him. And so Granddaddy Hog at some point said, I want to go overseas. I want to be part of the actual fight myself. I want to go fight also, which my grandmother didn't particularly want him to do, but he was determined to do it. And at one point, I'm getting very historical here, guys, so yeah, y'all just bear with me. But at one point, there was a guy named Frank Merrill, and he created a unit, the Army created, and Frank Merrill headed it up, a group that eventually was called the Merrill's Marauders. And this group was a whole bunch of jungle fighters, and their whole job was to go into Southeast Asia, penetrate way behind the enemy lines, and blow up railroad tracks and fuel trucks and things like that, and just create disruptions for the Japanese that were in China and Burma and elsewhere. And so they reached out to my granddad and wanted him to be one of the officers, one of the higher ranking officers in Merrill's Marauders. And my granddad thought that sounded like the most perfect thing in the world. He immediately volunteered, said, yeah, I want to be part of this unit. I'm so ready to do it. Everything was approved. He got on a train heading to San Francisco. From San Francisco, they were then going to head overseas for some more training and all that. Well, remember I told you my old Granny Hog wasn't really liking the idea of my granddad going over to fight. She kind of liked having him at home and knowing he was safe and everything. So as soon as my granddad got on a train heading to San Francisco, she immediately went over to the commanding officer of the camp because she and the commanding officer's wife were good friends. They played bridge together, hung out at the officers club, however that worked back then, but they were best friends and good friends. And so she approached the wife and said, you have got to talk to your husband and do whatever you can to get my husband, Clifford, back home, because I do not want him joining Frank Merrill and this group going behind the enemy lines. That sounds horrible. It sounds horrific. Please do what you can. So the wife said, sure, I'll do it. So she ended up talking to the base commander. The base commander said, well, no, he wants to fight. That's his right to do. Well, she kept going on and on until finally the base commander said, all right, fine, I'll get him back. So by the time my granddad reached San Francisco, all excited, started meeting some of the other people, suddenly he gets a telegram saying, your orders have been rescinded. You're needed back at the camp. We can't do without you. You have got to come back home. We're sorry, but we're not going to give you permission to join Frank Merrill and his group. So my granddad was furious. He got back on that train. He came back home and he was livid. He was ready to just beat the tar out of anyone who was going to not let him go fight overseas. My grandmother never told him that she was the one behind it. Never said a word at all. She just said, yeah, that's such a shame. I know your heart was set on it, but I'm glad to have you back. And I don't know why. They just need you here instead. And, it's their loss, our gain. Until the day he died, he never. The only reason I'm even talking about it now is because he passed in 1990, the day after Sharon and I got married, in fact. But he never knew a word about it. Now, as it turns out, as much as he wanted to go overseas, it was probably a good idea because of this entire group, hundreds and hundreds of people in Merrill's Marauders. They had two people who did not spend large amounts of time in the hospital for either wounds or serious illness. Hundreds of them, more than 50% died fighting behind enemy lines, but they did all kinds of stuff while they were. But yeah, from a personal standpoint, I'm glad it worked out the way it did. But there you go. So my granddad, who wanted to fight so bad and was denied the chance, and he never knew why. Now, after the war was over, he eventually did go over to Korea. It wasn't South Korea, North Korea at the time. It was just Korea. He went over as part of the went over as part of the occupation forces and helped Korea rebuild after the war and all of that. So he did do some of that, and we've got a bunch of interesting pictures and such that I may share with y'all one of these days. But he did get to do that. But yeah, so that was the thing. Now, my granddaddy Hog, for those of you who may not know, before World War II, he was in the military and he was a stunt pilot. He didn't start as a stunt pilot. He flew airplanes when it was still part of the Army Corps, the Army Corps, or the Air Corps, I think is what they called it. But he flew airplanes, and at one point they filmed Wings, 1927, I think. It won the very first Academy Award ever issued. It was a silent picture, starred Clara Bow, who was the it girl. She was the big superstar of the times back then. It starred her, and anyway, my granddad was an extra in the film. They filmed it down outside San Antonio, but because he flew airplanes, he also did a lot of the stunt work. There's several shots of him sitting up in balloons that the Germans flew. He's posing as a German. He flew a lot of the planes back and forth. It's an amazing movie if you've never seen it. So my granddad was in Wings before, and then once World War II started, they got back to the real stuff as well. I'm gonna pull up a few clips from Wings one of these next few weeks. I'll show y'all my granddad when he was a whole lot younger, and him having his own. He had a lot of adventures. I went on Big Brother. He fought in the military and did barnstorming and all that kind of stuff. So very interesting. So that's my granddaddy Hog. All right, now I got a quick story as well for my other granddad, my mom's dad as well. He served. He actually fought over in Southeast Asia. He was in the Army Corps of Engineers. So he was building stuff, blowing up stuff, figuring out where to build new things and everything to help the war effort. He was over there for quite a while. And unfortunately, I never got to meet him. He died before I was born, but he actually fought in Southeast Asia at the time. But I have heard one story I've heard quite a few times from my mom. Actually told it because she was a very little girl during World War II, and little girl living in Midland, Texas at the time, who was very scared that her dad was gone and hearing about the enemies and everything else. And at night she would wake up and she would be scared that the enemy was trying to maybe come into their house or something. She's little. So every time she woke up and she got scared, she would yell out for her dad, but she wouldn't just yell out, "Hey, Dad." She'd say, "Daddy in the Army, come on, someone's trying to get in. Daddy in the Army, please come help me." And she always wanted to make sure that they knew that her dad was in the Army, because she knew that if you were in the Army, that meant that you were brave and you were a soldier and you would take care of your family. And so that was her way of assuring herself that she had this strong person watching out for her. And so she'd always say, "Daddy in the Army, Daddy in the Army." And that made everything better whenever it happened. So I don't know, it always kind of brings a tear thinking about that as well. It's a shame I didn't get to meet him before when I was born, but anyway, so there's some Memorial Day stories for y'all. I'm so proud of my family's past history serving, and I thank God that we haven't had to serve here recently. But there are certainly a lot of people that have paid the price, and I think it shouldn't be just Memorial Day. We ought to be thinking and thanking those people every single day, right? But it's still nice we've got one day to really talk about it and focus on as well. So there you go. And now let's move on to some other things beyond war stories and things like that. And let's start with Big Brother, because Granny Hog. Yeah, Mom, that was Granny Hog. Granny Hog was a little church-going lady, but I think I've told the story as well. She ran bootleg liquor for the mob back during Prohibition days. She's also the one that taught myself and my brothers how to play all kinds of poker games. So there's another level to old Granny Hog that we didn't know about until a lot later in life. But anyway. All right, let's talk about. I saw some mentions of Big Brother, and I'm not going to go back all the way. Oh, my mom's out there. All right, hey mom, I thought you'd maybe remember that story. I knew you'd remember the story if you were out here. But yeah, Daddy in the Army. But no, we I saw a few mentions of Big Brother, so let's talk about that real quick. I don't have any huge news. Y'all may have more news than I do. All right, before we do it, Ma's asking, have I ever watched The Sopranos? Well, yeah, absolutely. And as soon as you mentioned The Sopranos, Ma, all I can think of is the theme song for The Sopranos. Such an amazing theme song. I just think of that as soon as I think of the song. Lori saying, a little over a month till Big Brother. Did you know you were going in by now? No, Laurie, I didn't know. I didn't have a clue. Let's see. May of 2019. Did I know I was going into the Big Brother house? No. Did I think there was a possibility that I was going into the Big Brother house? Yeah. I definitely, at this point in time, it's funny. And I can't go into all the detail involved with it, but obviously you don't. Well, maybe it's not obviously. You don't just try out and then the day before the show they say, "Hey, Cliff, hey, come on out. We're ready for you." Now, there's a lot of conversations that take place throughout the whole process, and so every time I'd talk casting people, they'd call me up, and I'd think, here we go. This is where they're going to say, "Well, we really enjoyed talking to you, but not really going to happen this year, Cliff." And so every time that phone call came in, that's what I was ready for. And every time the phone call came in, the message I got was, well, we're still making our decisions. We still don't know, but you still need to be preparing just in case. So they didn't tell me. I don't think there's any reason to think they told anyone else that we were going in the house until we found our key. Even when people came out to film, they had camera crews and stuff. Once they do that a week or so before the show starts, you think, well, there's a pretty good chance, right? I mean, I'm not a dummy. Well, not too much of a dummy. I think if they're going to come out and film you think there's a good chance. But even then, we didn't know if we were actually going to be on the show or if we were an alternate. It's all the surprise. And I did not know that I was going to be on the show, honest truth, until I pulled my key out of my tackle box that y'all saw on the episode 1. And they said, "Yeah, you're on, Cliff." Yeah, now's the time. So no, to answer the question, I did not know. But every time a phone call came in and they said, "Now you're still in the running," it made me think, all right, there can't be that many old guys still left in the running that they're trying to decide between. Can there be? I mean, it was a funny deal because I spent so much of the spring of 2019 telling Sharon and my kids, my kids didn't know about it till a little bit later, but telling everyone and telling myself that, yeah, don't get your hopes up. This is cool, but at some point it's going to end. And then suddenly a few weeks before the show starts, thinking, maybe not. Maybe I need to be thinking the other direction, start planning strategies and packing and things like that. And so there was a point in time where I finally just said, okay, I think I'm on at this point. I better start planning for it. Now, here's the other thing y'all may not know. When I pulled that key out of the tackle box and they filmed me and said, "Yeah, that's it, Cliff," that truly was it. They did two things. They said, "Okay, you're on the show and give us your cell phone." And they immediately took my cell phone and they said, "Okay, we're heading back to the house and, be packed because we're heading out of town." And we headed out just an hour or so later, heading to LA. So there wasn't any time between when they said you're going on and when you actually were heading to the airport and heading across town. So it's not as though I was sitting in the house and having little celebration dinners with my family and said, "Okay, I better get packing at this point." No, as soon as you find out, they snatch you up and you're gone. That truly is it. So that's how that works. Ma saying, "Who's your favorite Sopranos character?" Oh, it's been so long, Ma. I don't know. It's got to be Tony Soprano, right? There are so many good characters on there, but I liked all of them. Eddie Falco, I thought she did fantastic as well. But Big Brother news now. A couple of things I was going to throw at y'all. One, talking about casting, Alex Stern, who is one of the casting, I think she may have been involved Big Brother Over the Top. I'm not certain, but I think that may be the case. But anyway, she posted and said, "My job is done. Casting is complete." And then later she came back and clarified and said, "I'm not saying that everyone's been picked. I'm just saying that we've done our initial casting and sent this huge list over to the powers to be that make the selection. So apparently, if you haven't been contacted yet, you may just consider that the live feeds are your best way to watch this year, and next year may be the better choice, a better chance. Because I have a feeling everyone's been contacted at this point in time, but who knows? I've also heard that some people, even in my season, there's a few people who didn't get contacted until just a week or two, a few weeks before the show actually happened. So you always have a few people that come at the very end, but for the most part, it sounds like they've sent their list over. And in terms of who actually makes the picks when it comes to Big Brother, my impression has been that the casting people say, all right, here's this huge list of people, maybe not so huge. Here's a list of people. And then the producers, Allison Grodner and people like that, look at that list. Maybe they make a few choices, but they also immediately bring in CBS people. And I don't know whom, I think CBS makes the final decision, but the Big Brother producers and the CBS people all start working together, and they figure out who they like or who they don't ever want to see on their TV screen. At that point in time, they probably like everyone. It's just how the puzzles all fit together. I will say this. During the tryout process, I had to talk to Big Brother producers, and I had to talk to CBS executives as well. You better be comfortable talking in front of large groups of people, because there were times where I was talking in front of a lot of people, and it's probably just as well I didn't know who they were, important-wise, title-wise, or anything else. Y'all know me. I can talk in front of anyone. I was just in there, blah, 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 talking away and telling my stories and everything else. But there were a lot of people paying attention to what I was saying a few times. So they do that, and then I guess they start striking names off the list and do everything. We've got that. Brian saying, what did you think of your intro for the episode? Thought it was really good. Yeah, I was okay with it, Brian. It's funny because the whole time I was in the house, as you can imagine, they film a lot of stuff. They film you for an hour or so, and you don't know what they're going to use or they're not going to use. So I really didn't know how it's going to be portrayed when I actually went into the house. And I got a little bit worried because there's some things they wanted me to talk about. Oh, I'm wiser, I'm smarter. They wanted me to say a lot of things like, I'm just going to win this whole thing because I'm such an incredibly brilliant person. It's like, man, don't be showing that, people. I don't want to be portrayed as this cocky, arrogant guy or something. And so there are a few things they filmed where I got a little bit nervous about it. But then they also did some fun things. Like I told y'all last week, they had me try to recite every country I'd ever been to. And they really focused on, oh my gosh, I was wearing cowboy boots with the Texas flag on it. And they wanted me just to walk around with those boots everywhere and just pretty much just stick them in front of the camera the whole time, which I'm fine with. So I did a lot of that, but now they film me on an oil rig, yelling some commands and things like that. So yeah, I thought it was going to be a fun intro, but you don't ever really know for certain. I don't know if it made it onto the screener. I know it didn't make it onto the episode. Maybe it made it onto the live feeds. Maybe not. If not, then maybe I've got some new stories for y'all. One time in the backyard, and this was probably just a little after we got to the jury phase. So there were probably 8 or so people back there. We decided to recreate our intros. So everyone else in the house could see kind of how they thought they were being portrayed. And so one at a time, we kind of went out there and said, hi, I'm Cliff from Houston, Texas. And, here I am fishing. Now I'm pulling out my key in my tackle box. And we all each tried to do our own little thing. Tommy was describing doing dancing with his dad and suddenly finding a key. And it was fun hearing everyone kind of talking about how they thought they were being portrayed. Now, for all I knew, they were making it all up. You don't know anything for certain in there, but it was still fun to watch them talk about their family and their background and things like that. And for the most part, I think everyone told the truth. I don't remember that anyone just bald-faced lied the way they were portrayed based on the first episode. It was fun watching the first episode of my season, though, not just to see how it's portrayed. Obviously, that's the most important thing, right? Yeah, kind of for me it was anyway. But it was fun watching to see how everyone else was portrayed as well and see how well the way they were portrayed in the initial episode versus how they actually played the game. Yeah, and comparing the two. So that was kind of cool. Ma-san can't find the clip. It may not be out there. Y'all may have just heard some inside scoop, inside information that no one else had ever heard. Because we did that one night and I had fun doing it. It was pretty neat. All right, Moss saying I like the old intro. I like the old intro too. I thought they'd have the old intro with us. You know, the screen spinning around and us doing. I figured. I told everyone, I said, they're going to show me when I show up on the screen. They're going to show me tipping my hat or something like that. And Tommy said, "Oh, they're going to make me jump. They're going to do some kind of spin and everything." So we all kind of figured we were part of that old intro. Well, they didn't have it, but that's all right. Moss saying they're in love with the cowboy persona. I guess so. I mean, hey, I certainly wasn't going to try to hide the cowboy hat or the cowboy boots and who I am. And I tried to emphasize as much as possible. I've told people, if you get cost, if you're trying out for Big Brother, figure out what makes you stand out from everyone else and emphasize it. Exaggerate it, not really exaggerate, but certainly emphasize it. Put some focus on it. Happened to be the case with me, my cowboy hat, my boots, and oil field stories, and just being a storyteller in general. Yeah, that's the way you advance in the thing. But but I am what I am. I mean, don't get me wrong. This is who I am. But yeah, it kind of worked out to my advantage in that standpoint. Who's asking? What am I binge watching? We're gonna get to that. God, what time? 7:38. This goes so quick, guys. I don't think I could do more than a couple hours because I'd run out of voice if it took too long, right? But yeah, I'll finish up Big Brother 23. So casting theoretically is done. Now, here's the other scoop I heard, and I don't know if this is official yet or not. I don't think it is, and I don't know if it's not like I've been told and it's just not official. I've heard the rumors that this season is going to only be 86 days long, which I think is how long All Stars was last year, Big Brother 22. And I think people may be saying that just because the season's starting a little bit later, July 7th, as opposed to, when did we go in the house? July 20th or June 20th, something like that. So it would make sense that maybe the season will be just a little bit shorter, which I'm okay with, because that means, because I've also heard it's going to be all 16 people, I assume 16, maybe a few more, maybe a few less, but I've heard it's probably going to be all newbies this year. No returning players, which if you want to bring one back, that'd be okay, but I get it. And then that's fine. If it's all newbies and the season's only 86 days long, that means none of these new people are going to be in the house as long as I was in the house during my season. I was in there for 93 days, so I'll still have a better, longer record than any of these new people have when they go in and come out of the house as well. But it's going to be interesting watching this new season coming up, guys, because I had my season, and then last year we had the All-Stars. But the All-Stars, you already knew the people, and you knew who they were. You knew kind of how they played the game, and they were like old friends. Even though I hadn't met most of them, but they're still like old friends. You know who they are, and they're coming back on your TV screens. This is going to be the first Big Brother where it's completely brand new people, and I'm going to be able to put myself into their shoes so easily during this season. Say, oh, don't do that. I remember when, and go off into my own tangent talking about what I remember as well. So I'm going to feel so empathetic, so sympathetic to the people in that house, because they're going to be newbies just like I was. And so it's going to be so much fun to watch. But yeah, 86 days versus 99. True or not? I don't know. We'll see. I hope I want to be involved with Big Brother this season. I'm gonna be doing everything I can to promote it on YouTube, on Clubhouse, everywhere else that may have a presence. It's gonna be fun. I'm getting excited. It's summertime, man. I went to the lake. I did a little bit of fishing. That kind of suggests to me that summer's right here, and what proves it all up, it's when Big Brother starts up for yet another season. So yeah, I'm excited. Excited about that. Moss saying I thought it was 85. Yeah, it could be. I said 86, 85. I don't know, tomato. Hey, off one day. Hey, that's a rounding error there. Who knows? Yeah, it could be 85 versus 86 days. I don't know, but it sounds like it's going to be a little bit shorter than some of the other seasons. So there you go. All right, now let's get into it. The binge of the week, and I got two of them. Y'all don't know how close I came to not making it onto the show this evening or having to delay. I wouldn't have done that to y'all, but I certainly had torn priorities because I started binge watching last night and had to finish it up this afternoon. A show recommended by our own Angie Hung. Thank you, Angie, for the recommendation. I binge watched The Mayor of Easttown. with Kate Winslet, Gene Smart on there. Oh my gosh, this is on HBO Max. I didn't really realize when I started binge watching that the final episode was last night on TV on HBO Max. But that's the way to watch it, where I got all of it combined together. So I watched like 4 hours last night. Sharon and I watched 4 hours last night. Finally, so late, so God, I can go to bed. So then finished up the last 3 hours tonight. I'm not going to give away any spoilers because that would be a horrible thing to do because it's a bit of a mystery show and all of that. But let's just say Kate Winslet plays a police officer, or a detective, I guess is a better term, plays a detective in a small town, Pennsylvania. She's trying to solve a crime. And while she's trying to do that, her family has a whole lot of issues around her that she's trying to deal with family and try to solve this crime, and a lot of uncertainty and problems that are occurring in this small little town in Pennsylvania. And I don't know how to say that much more without giving away. It's, for those of you who remember Twin Peaks, it's a little Twin Peakish, I guess, and that there's a lot of interconnected and a lot of not red herrings. There's a lot of what ifs and could it be, and oh, what's this person up to, and oh, don't trust that person. There's a lot of that goes on. So it's a little bit like Twin Peaks. It's a little bit like True Detective that was on a few years back. There's a lot of surprises involved. A lot of things that caught me off guard. I was like, oh, wasn't thinking that was going to happen. But Kate Winslet did it. And I know Kate Winslet's a huge, Angie's a huge fan of Kate. And I got to say, she deserves any kind of Emmys they want to give her for this one. It was, she did an amazing job of portraying someone who is doing the best that she can, a flawed person, living with a whole bunch of other flawed people, trying to do the best you can to survive the world and to do what needs to be done. And sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. And I just loved it. I could go on and on. It's probably just as well I only have 15 minutes, because otherwise I would keep on talking and I'd get to the point where I would accidentally say something that gives something away that would ruin it for y'all. And I don't want to do that. But if you've got HBO Max, I don't know if it's anywhere else. I assume it's just HBO Max. But if you've got it, check it out. It's only 7 episodes, so it's not as though it's in Game of Thrones. It isn't Breaking Bad. You aren't going to spend the next 4 months, 24 hours a day watching shows to try to get caught up. It's 7 episodes, and it's well worth it. The background, the filming, the acting, the plot. I have nothing negative to say about it, other than the fact it's very emotional. It's a little dark at times. It's a lot depressing at times. Again, you're dealing with a lot of flawed people. So I'll leave it at that. But if you have not watched The Mayor of Easttown, watch it. And a big old shout out to our own Angie Hung for suggesting a few times, because I loved it. I absolutely loved it. It almost makes me want to go watch Titanic on TV just to see something else from Kate Winslet. I've already seen The Holiday, and I love her in that. So, man, yeah, it was really good. The smile on my face, loved it. Loved it. All right, the other binge show that I'm going to throw out, not show, it's a book. I found out later it's a show as well. I don't know if any of y'all have watched it or heard about it. The Flight Attendant. I just picked it up on my e-reader and didn't know anything about it. But and I don't want to spoil it either, because it's a mystery also. But The Flight Attendant involves, guess who the star of the show is on The Flight Attendant? A flight attendant. Imagine that. A woman who's a flight attendant who wakes up after a long night of a little too much celebrating to discover that a whole lot of stuff has happened that's really creating issues in her world. And we'll just leave it at that, and her trying to figure her way out of her little conundrum. I don't know what the word is. I shouldn't have started off with that. Of her sticky situation and trying to figure out what in the world's going on and how she's going to fix it. It's pretty good too. I read it, and then later I just found out right before I went on here while I was putting some notes together, I realized they already made a TV series about it. I'm so far behind. And another one on the list, and it's on HBO Max also. It stars Katie Kuko, the girl from Big Bang Theory. She plays a flight attendant. Now, the description I saw on HBO Max was a comedy, thriller, drama type show. There wasn't a whole lot of comedy in the book I read, so maybe they amped up the comedy just a little bit more for the miniseries. So it may have a whole different tone than the book I read. But it was a good book. It was one of those, sometimes you just get a book or a TV show, either one, where you stay up all night long because you can't put the book down. Those are few and far between, but this was one of those where I just kept telling Sharon, saying, I'm just going to read another chapter. And next thing you know, I can't stop now. They left me on a cliffhanger. I got to just read a few more pages. And so that was one of those books I just found it hard to put down. I spent most of a lot of Saturday night and a lot of Sunday trying to finish it. It took 24 hours to read the book, and it's 400 something pages. So that ought to let you know as well that I told y'all before, when I was a kid, I'd read the Hardy Boy books or the Wizard of Oz books, and I could get through a book in 24 hours. Not so much nowadays, but it's because I've been reading George R.R. Martin and Tom Clancy and some of these books that are 1,000 pages long. But now this was 400. Great. Yeah. So if you haven't read The Flight Attendant, read the book and then watch a miniseries, which is what I'm going to do. I always enjoy reading the book first, creating all the characters and visualizations and everything in my head. And then I watch a TV show and see how much, or the movie, and see how much the two match up to each other, which is kind of fun. I did that with the Harry Potter books. Well, I saw a few of the movies before I finished the series, but my family read the Harry Potter books that were out before seeing the first movie or two. I remember Hermione. In my mind, when I read the book, I always pronounced that Hermione or something. I think it was a Hermione. I didn't realize until I watched the first movie. I was pronouncing it all wrong as Hermione. I didn't know it. I was just reading it to myself. So anyway, speaking of, I just watched all of the Hunger Games over the weekend. Those shows are on all the time. Seems like there's always Hunger Games on, but I watched all of them over the weekend, and I watched a little Harry Potter as well. I did a lot of binge watching this particular weekend, in addition to being out doing a little fishing and outdoors and everything else. All right, let's see. Let me see some of these comments, because I've been just going on and on with y'all guys. All right. I can't read far enough back to get involved in some of the conversations y'all are having. So I'll just know that y'all are having fun visiting with each other. Jake's, I recommend Titanic. Yeah, we know how it ends. I know, and I know how some of the individual characters end as well, but I'm still gonna, someday, maybe when I'm old and laying waiting for the pearly gates to arrive, maybe I'll say, all right, yeah, I'll watch it now. For that matter, I may make it to the pearly. I hope so. I may make it to the pearly gates. Old St. Peter may say, Cliff, we're ready to bring you in. But we do have a requirement. You can't get your halo and your ukulele. I don't think they play ukuleles. We're not going to let you in until you watch Kate Winslet in Titanic. Yeah, you can't. You got to do that first. And I'll say, okay, hey, if that's what it takes, bring it on. I doubt they're going to do that. They're going to have some whatever. Yeah. Let's not talk about what it takes to get into heaven. Ma saying, so sad Katie doesn't like watching herself. I've heard that before. Kate. I guess I get it. Coming from the guy who hadn't watched the full season of my season of Big Brother, and I certainly am not a professional. It's not like I came out of there saying, "Oh, I can't believe I can't believe I stumbled over those lines, or that I didn't portray that better." Man, it's just being me. If there's one role I'm suited for, I think it's playing Cliff Hogg on a TV show. So yeah, I can only imagine when that's your career, that you have a hard time coming back and watching it, because you're going to fine tune and nitpick every little thing that you see that you wish you'd done better, which makes me feel a little sad for Kate Winslet and other people who are such professionals, because they probably can't ever enjoy the show and enjoy the movies that we as viewers get to enjoy it, because it's work for them. I mean, they're so focused on making it perfect, and it's just a job, whereas we're just watching it for entertainment. So yeah, we get to watch it. They have to just live through it, I guess. All right, so other binge watching that. This wasn't all this week. There's some from last week that I just never had a chance to talk to y'all about. Have y'all seen, and I didn't want to have just HBO Max, so I've got Netflix as well. Have y'all seen Army of the Dead? Y'all know I love zombie films, right? Yeah, Dawn of the Dead, George Romero, one of my top, just movies, scary movies ever to watch ever. So I love the zombie flicks. So Army of the Dead came out. Zack Snyder, who did the remake of Dawn of the Dead back in 2004, I think, something like that. Anyway, he did the remake. Well, then he did this one, Army of the Dead. It's all about zombies in Las Vegas, and it was pretty good. There were, plot wise, take it or leave it with some zombie flicks. You have to suspend a certain amount of belief to get into it. But the movie was pretty good. Not 10 out of 10, but it was pretty good. But here's a thing that was probably more cool. I guess that's what I said. The coolest part of this Army of the Dead. For those of you who didn't see it, I give you a little bit of just a background there. There's a lot of people that are having to go into Vegas and perform a little objective, do some stuff and make it back out before the zombies get to them or before they're wiped out and things like that. Well, one of the people is a helicopter pilot, and apparently it was supposed to be a guy who, I don't remember his name, so it's probably just because apparently this comedian who was supposed to be a helicopter pilot, they filmed all his scenes, everything, did all of that, and then he got into trouble for, hitting on underage girls. Allegedly. I don't even know his name, but I still want to be safe for doing some things that were considered inappropriate. And I don't know the background, but doing some things that you want to avoid when you're introducing a new show. So rather than have him on here and immediately have a little bit of a black spot on this new show coming out, they wiped him out of the movie completely. They got rid of him completely, but they still have the helicopter pilot. Well, how did they do that? They brought in another actress, and what's her name? Tingo. I can't believe I can't remember her name. She's she's done a lot of comedian. You see her in a lot of the Jimmy Fallons and night shows and things like that. She's pretty funny. She's very deadpan kind of humor and all. Anyway, they brought her in to be the new actress to play to take the place of the old actor. They brought her in to be the new helicopter pilot. Which you think, all right, they reshot the scenes, whatever. We've seen that happen before. Nah, she never met anyone from the rest of the cast. They shot every one of her scenes, her by herself in front of a green screen. And then they went in and they digitally removed all the background and they probably not Photoshop, a little more involved that, but they pasted her into all the scenes of the movie over this other guy, pasted her in as well. And so it's funny, the David Bautista, who's the lead actor on it, he says he never met her. Even though there's all these scenes of them talking to each other, he never met her because they put her in later. The technology of movies, Tig Notaro. Yes, thank you, Angie. Thank you. She's funny. I didn't know who she was until she was on the screen. And I said, oh, I've seen her stuff. She's a funny comic. And she kind of has a very sarcastic tone in this movie, which fit in perfectly with her personality. When the movie is over, I thought, oh, she was a perfect cast for this. And then I find out that no, she wasn't even in it until later. They just filmed it all over again with her, pasted her in with all the rest of the actors. And she says she's not ever, maybe she has by now, but she'd never met any of the rest of the cast. It was all done completely alone. And it just makes me think, in the days of COVID and all, we're hopefully getting past it. It looks like we're past it. But, with our technology nowadays, it's going to be so easy to take people and paste people in, pull people out. Heck, for that matter, some of the graphics and stuff, somewhere down the road, are we going to get to the point where we don't even have real actors or actresses? They're all just going to be computer generated. Hey, create some computer generated person like Tom Cruise, and you don't have to pay him $50 million per picture. You just tell the computer programmer that, hey, if people like you, we'll up your salary a couple of bucks an hour or whatever, and just keep giving us this makeup graphics guy. It's coming, right? I don't know if I like that or not. It's there's a lot of implications, right? If you start manufacturing graphics of people that look just like real people, or that you can't tell the difference. The movie magic, Meg, you're right. The movie magic is, I don't know. It's a brave new world we're entering, and I don't know. Maybe I need to write a science fiction film just about people being replaced by people that look just like them, and how can you tell a difference? That's weird stuff coming up. I'm ready to watch it and see what happens over the next 50, 60, 70 years. I'm not going anywhere anytime soon. So, it's going to be interesting to see what they do. All right, 7:56, guys. I'm just talking away. As y'all can tell, I enjoyed some of my entertainment choices over the weekend. I don't know if I told y'all last week. Maybe I did. I watched Galaxy Quest. Did I tell you that? I don't know. I watched it. I'd not ever seen that movie. At least it'd been forever, and I'd maybe seen one or two parts. But Tim Allen, Sigourney Weaver, can't remember everyone else who was on it. Oh, that was a hilarious film. But I think I did say it because being a big Star Trek person, I love those kind of shows. So I watched Galaxy Quest as well. Had what's the guy played Snape in Harry Potter, and played the baddie in Die Hard. Why can I not remember his name? Anyway, he's a great actor. But yeah, that was a great one as well. So we got that. And Miles saying, what did the WWE do? I saw some mentions of WWE, but I don't follow the wrestling as much. And David Buchanan is the big WWE expert. So he'll give you more details on that than me. The horrible movie tie-in at their last pay-per-view. Okay. Ma saying, if Cliff wrote something, I'd give it a watch. Well, Ma, I don't know. Yeah, I've written a lot of papers over the years, but very technical, very oil field related that I guarantee would put you to sleep within the first paragraph or two. But yeah, maybe I'll write some sci-fi dystopian, what a horrible situation we've gotten ourselves into, a type book, and a whole new career. That'd be kind of cool. I got to make money first. Maybe I'll retire, and then I'll start writing the science fiction and everything. That may be the best way to go. Alan Rickman played Snape. God, thank you. I could not remember. It's funny how things get past you. Rex Brent, love you, Cliff. Much love from Columbus, Ohio. Well, shouting right back to you out there in Columbus as well. I appreciate it. I thank you, and as well in Virginia, Ma. I appreciate it as well. Make sure it includes bees, Cliff. All right, Angie, if I include bees in my story, they're going to be artificial drone bees that have a little bullet attached, and they'll just be programmed to go out and take out the baddie guy, but then they'll be hijacked by some other baddie guy, and next thing you know, you'll be running from literal killer bees. Maybe that's the title of my book. You thought you had killer bees before? Welcome to my world. And we could do a whole deal of that. Y'all remember? I got shut down, but I'll finish off this. There was a show when I was a kid about killer bees back before they came in the United States. We just thought, they're just going to take over the United States. We won't be able to go outside. They had one movie called probably Killer Bees or Attack of the Bees or something, where they come in and they're just killing people everywhere they go. And all I remember is some woman who manages to capture the queen bee inside her little Volkswagen Beetle, and she ends up the killer bees all surround her little VW bug Beetle. Is that why they used the Beetle? Because it's called a bug? I don't know. But anyway, so the bees are completely surrounding her Volkswagen. She can't even see it. There's just bees everywhere, and she can't get out of the car because they're just waiting for her. And eventually they save her. It's okay to spoil a movie that's about 40 years old, right? I hope so. If not, if you're planning to watch this, then cover yours for a second. She ends up driving into, I think, the New Orleans Superdome. Maybe it's the Houston Astrodome. I can't remember which it was. I think it was the Superdome. She drives it inside the Superdome, and they turn the air conditioning down so low that all these bees freeze or fall asleep. I don't know. Or they pass out from the cold. So at that point, she can hop out of the car and escape. And then they come in and kill all the killer bees. And of course, at the very end, they show them all dead, except for one little killer bee sitting up on a seat up at the top part of the Superdome with buzzing its wings. And that's kind of the signal for, hey, if this does well, we've got a sequel already lined up, guys. So I don't know if there was ever a sequel, but I've had my own experience with bees. So I think maybe I'll leave that out of my book and I'll focus on something completely different, because otherwise it just hits too close to home. All right, guys, let's finish it up. Ma saying it should. Cliff would write as many books as George R.R. Martin by the time he releases his next book. I'm waiting for George R.R. Martin's next book because I want to find out if it follows along with the plot from the last last episode of Game of Thrones, or he's got some completely different ideas. I don't know if I can wait as long as I don't know if George R.R. Martin. He better hurry. He's not a young chick, but I'm still waiting for George R.R. Martin's book. I love the Game of Thrones series. I absolutely did. All right, we're gonna shut it down, guys. Let's finish. I hope y'all have a fantastic week. Let me look at this real quick. David said I'd provide you a link to back up what I was talking about. Okay, cool. And let me look at some others before we do. Big Brother 23. The season theme is titled New Beginnings. It's a it's in reference to a Renaissance of sorts. Renaissance means rebirth. The house will be beach club. Well, Brian, I hadn't heard that. That's a little more information. That's the cool part. I mean, Big Brother's fun, but hearing all the rumors and everything else even before that's also pretty cool as well. All right, guys, we're going to shut it down. I'll finish it up as always. SKD143. Love my wife. Love my kids. Love all y'all out here. Tomorrow, in addition to what a Pen Pal Day and Go Barefoot Day and everything, also tomorrow is National Say Something Nice Day, which there's not nearly enough of that happening on social media, especially Twitter and a few places like that. So just go anyway. Say something nice all week long. Find a person that you never say anything nice to and say something nice to them anyway. Yeah, they may surprise you with the reaction in a good way, hopefully. But go out, enjoy the rest of your Memorial Day. If you know a vet, if you know a family who maybe someone who serves, maybe someone who's lost, give them hugs. Thank them for everything that they've done. Say something nice to someone, not just tomorrow. Do it all week long and enjoy the rest of y'all's week. And I will see y'all next Monday, the first Monday in June. And right after June comes July, and July comes Big Brother. Y'all have a great one, guys. I will talk to y'all next week. Cheers, my friends. Y'all have a great one. Bye.